Hey guys, new video here. Been a while. Last few days, I have been playing Diablo 2 Median XL. And I put off trying this game for a long time. And most of it was because of the graphics and stuff. I have a long history with Diablo 2. I remember I discovered Diablo in elementary school. I was like really young. Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction, I must have been at the end of elementary school or like very, very beginning of middle school. So I was like a little kid when I played. I have some deep memories there. I remember getting scammed. I was playing a Lance Barbarian, and somehow someone like scammed me out of all my gear and all my uniques and stuff. Because they did this. Oh my god, there's a police siren in the background. They were doing this like trust test where it's like if you want to join our guild, you gotta drop all your items on the ground. And then so I like drop all the items on the ground, and he had like a really fast move speed guy, and he came, he picked up all my items, and I got scammed. And I remember like crying. And then my parents got home and they were like, "Why are you crying? It's time for dinner." And I was like, "No, I need to get my gear back." And they're like, "No, shut down the computer right now. We're eating dinner or something." And I was like, "No." And I lost all my gear. I was like really, really sad. Okay, so fast forward now. I've tried to get into Diablo 2, and I've tried to get into Diablo 2 POD, Path of Diablo. And I've also tried to get into like regular Diablo, and then Median XL I never really tried, just because it was kind of hard getting back into this whole graphics thing you see here, and it is kind of weird, right? So I want to talk about my experiences with it a little bit, and TLDR, it's an amazing game, and you definitely should try it if you're looking for like an ARPG to play, if you can get over the graphics and some of the clunkiness of the systems, right? So what is Diablo 2 Median XL? It is basically a complete game overhaul to Diablo 2. It uses all the Diablo 2 assets and then some, like added in, I think, by the modders. So you can think of all the things you see in Diablo 2 are just like kind of rearranged around. The character classes are the same. You have your Amazon, your Barb, your Necro, your Sork, and all that good stuff. But if you look at the UIs, right, the quests and the story are pretty much the same with some added zones and stuff like that. But if you look at the UI, it's very much different. It is a complete overhaul. It would be like kind of like, imagine Skyrim with like 100 different mods installed, or think of like like Grim Dawn has mods, right? I think of Grim Dawn completely modded into Diablo 2. Like there's a Diablo 2 mod for Grim Dawn, and that's like probably the best comparison for it. And it just makes the game into something completely different. So it's not really Diablo 2. It's more of like a hybrid of like Grim Dawn, Path of Exile, and I guess like Diablo, a little bit of Diablo 2. So going over like the stats. So I remember something in Diablo 2 was like, you would just pump all vitality once you got enough like the Archon plate or something like that. But now there's like different ways to like pump your stats. I mean, you're still pretty much putting it to like one stat, but the items have a lot different stats. So that's one thing you'll notice on the skill window here. If you look at the skill points, although you do have the same base classes, all of your stuff is different. So for example, the Amazon, one of like the cool things was like the Val tree, right? The Valk that you would summon, and then there was, I think, like multi-shot and stuff like that. Those things are gone. All the old skills are pretty much gone, except for they've like substituted them, and there might be similar things like for the sorceress. The frozen sphere was like a frozen orb. That's a very iconic skill. That is still in the game as like something different. It's called frigid orb. I've heard that like cyclone or whirlwind is still in the game, but it's kind of different. Kind of sucks. So all these things are different, and the way that the skill tree works is that you need 1 point in one of these, like these are the trees, they go in columns, and you need 1 point to get to the next thing. So for example here, I need to take Trinity Arrow to get 1 point in Barrage, to get 1 point in Phalanx, to get 1 point in Dragon Lore, 1 point in Worm Shot, and then you basically level them, and it's as you expect. You can think of them as active skill gems in Path of Exile. As you level them, they get stronger. And you have these other trees, and then basically there's a combination of buffs, passives, active skill gems, things like that, right? This is your ultimate tab. You have like ultimate abilities up here, and then you have like an ultimate like passive ability usually, or sometimes it's an active ability. So the skill tree, you can see, is very much different, but it does take inspiration from Diablo 2. Okay, that's the skill tree and the stats. And then if you take a look at the character, I'm already level 108. The max level is 150, I believe, but it's kind of hard to get there. I don't know yet if it's hard to get there. Then like let's say level 100 in Path of Exile, but it's It's probably, I'm gonna say it's a little bit harder from what I've heard. Okay, all right, so that's those two things. Let's talk about character progression and gear, because these are two things that, like, it really surprised me. Okay, so the way, I'm still a noob in this game, right? But the character progression and the gear, you still go through normal, nightmare and hell difficulty. That's all the same. Most of the quests that you will remember here, like for example, if you look at all these, they're all pretty much the same, right? But the gearing is very different. You have an expanded inventory, right? The gearing, there's things called tiered uniques, which are basically, think of it as, imagine in Path of Exile, if most of the uniques in the game could drop anywhere. So for example, if you had a Combs Heart, or you had a Headhunter, or you had an Azubi's Disfavor, right, or something like this. Imagine if those dropped at like level 5, at level 1, at level 10, but they were heavily downscaled to the level that they dropped at. And then imagine you could upgrade those every few levels as you're leveling. So kind of like a juiced up Tabby that's upgradable, right? That's basically the leveling progression as a new player. It's really nice, because what ends up happening is that the way you get them, it's very easy to farm, to deterministically farm these items. And right now I have like set items on, but the gear progresses in a way where it feels fair. The progression your first time playing through is pretty amazing. You look forward to these like incremental gear upgrades. So I'd say the early game, the progression, getting into it as a new player, once you figure out how the tiered uniques works, it actually feels better than Path of Exile, right? Because Path of Exile, if you're like kind of new and you're getting into it and you're like, you have no idea, like you can twink in Path of Exile, but it's like, you know, you're probably gonna have a completely scuffed character, but because there's so many other systems. But here, you know, you're putting it into like a few skills, and then you get your tiered uniques, and you're good to go, right? Like usually it's like rings and amulets are kind of like they're like a little bit scuffed in the beginning, because you know it's hard to find like the good ones. But that's something about gearing. The things that you have on the right side, these are charms, and the charms are kind of like an end game system. So the charms, you'll get them through kind of like a quest slash boss encounter. So imagine getting like permanent upgrades from doing Uber Elder or Shaper or Awakener, right? Like if you do Awakener, and sometimes with different conditions, you get a permanent stat upgrade. So you can look at these. These basically add bonuses to my character as long as I am of the appropriate level. Some of these are for my sorceress, and as long as I've, you know, the right class and everything like that. And as long as they stay in the inventory, you get these massive passive bonuses. And this is where the end game comes into play, okay? So the end game is pretty amazing. You get to level 110, or I guess it starts at 105. 105, 110, 115, 120, 125 plus. And there are basically like challenge dungeons. You think of it as like challenge dungeons, or like boss encounters from PoE, or challenge dungeons from Diablo 3, or boss encounters from PoE. And you go in there, and if you can kill the boss and clear the dungeon, you will get the charm, and it's upgradable in many different ways. And there's a lot of these charms. I don't even think I have half these charms, maybe less than, probably less, much less than half. And it is something to strive for. The difficulty can get pretty insane. And the end game is just like, it's kind of crazy. You can farm dungeons if you want for gear. You can do these challenges to get the charms, and then the character progression slowly goes up from there. And one thing I have to say, this is a recommendation video to try out this, because I was putting it off for so long. I was like, I don't want to try Median XL, but ultimately, it is a great game. The parts of Diablo 2 that were kind of annoying have been simplified. There's only like a few tiers of jewels. There are, if you're coming from PoE, there's things like Exalted Orbs. There's things like there's a deep crafting system. Basically, the cube is also expanded. So the cube is like for everything. The cube is for the recipes, for upgrading your tiered uniques, for pretty much doing everything that you'll need in the game. And it's pretty good. What are the bad parts about the game that I found? The clunkiness of the skill. So, you know, this is the Diablo 2 engine. So if I want to cast my right click skill here, right, I can just right click it, sure. But if I want to change to a different skill, I can't just like press another hotkey, right? I have to press the hotkey that's assigned to, and then right click. And then if I want to change, I got to change back and then right click. And this is not so bad initially, right? But some skills can't be bound to the left click. So like the shift left click is only a certain number of things. And then sometimes you have an aura, and if you have an aura, it binds the entire right slot. So then you have to use everything on left click, but then you can't once again because it doesn't have all the skills. You can see here, it does, like, lots of skills don't go on there. And that might be a little bit weird. Also, it's, you know, there is a little bit of desync and stuff like that. But overall, the game is pretty amazing. I was very surprised at how good this game was. And I think you guys should definitely try it. This isn't like sponsored or anything. It's just I had so much fun the last 3 days. And yeah, it's a good alternative if you're looking for something to do. The game has depth. I believe the game is new player friendly if you're used to ARPGs such as, you know, Grim Dawn or Path of Exile. There is a little bit of having to go to the wiki and stuff like that, right? So that is if you don't like doing that, it might be a little bit too intense for you, because, you know, obviously I had Twitch chat to answer all my questions, but I still had to go to the wiki like all the time to look up rune words. Rune words are in the game, but they're changed. And all the cool systems are in there. There's so many systems that I probably haven't mentioned in this video because I don't want to make this video too long. But overall, it is pretty intense. It's pretty good, and there's a lot of different builds, a lot of build diversity. It's like kind of like PoE, where like some builds are going to excel at farming maps, right? I built this guy to farm maps. Some builds will excel at single target and killing bosses to get your charms, right? Maybe for another character. And so it has a lot of replayability. Okay, so I would say try it out and see if you like it. You do need the base version of Diablo 2 and Lord of Destruction. You need a CD key for that, because it will ask you for both those CD keys. You can find that in your Blizzard account if you've registered those, or you can buy a new version. It costs like $10 for each game, I guess. But it has a lot of content. I would say if I were to compare this game to like Path of Exile, they are comparative games. Like here's a comparison I'll make. If this game had a remastered version, if Blizzard one day came out with a remastered Diablo 2 with like new graphics and everything, and maybe a little bit of new engine so that you can like have different hotkeys without swapping, and better movement, because if you look at the movement, it's not like exactly it's, you can move in like 20 directions or something. I don't know, like 30 directions or something, 8 directions maybe. It's kind of weird. This game would be an extremely strong rival to PoE. It would rival PoE. It would be better than Grim Dawn. It would be better than Wolcen. Well, it's questionable. Wolcen's a pretty good game, guys. XD. It would be better than Diablo 3. It'd be better than Torchlight series. It'd be better than it would be that good. The customization of the gear, the crafting of the gear, like every system combined in this game, and I haven't even scratched the surface. I'm a noob. I've been playing for 3 days, right? Everything combined, I can already tell that this would be like a strong competitor to PoE. It's just not, because like it's so clunky. It's like, oh, the old Diablo 2 engine like kind of triggers me sometimes. But give it a try. If you haven't, you might like it. Feels good. All right, that's the video. Basically, you know, I just want to make the video, get a little bit of my thoughts out there. I love this game. I think this game is fantastic. The community is good too. All right, that's the video. Okay, bye guys. Bye.